From also the matters that brings leniency to the hearts towards Allah. It softens the hearts toward the members of Allah and the deen. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is eating the halal. Eating what is halal from halal sources. Actually, one of the major reasons that puts a barrier on the hearts and makes them harden is either eating the haram or eating from doubtful resources. Wal-'iyadhu billah. A man named Abi Hafs, Umar ibn Salih, have said that he asked Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, may Allah have mercy upon all of them. He said, I went to Abi Abdullah and I asked him and I said, may Allah have mercy upon you, O Abi Abdullah. Tell me, how do hearts become lenient and soften toward their members of Allah? He said, by eating what's halal, meaning also from halal sources. A matter that the scholars who heard it commented on it. At the time of Imam Ahmad said, indeed, that is the essence of everything that brings leniency to the heart. No one could be remembering Allah and his heart will be lenient while he's eating haram. No one will be fearful of Allah while he's eating haram. No one his dua will be answered while he's eating haram or from haram sources, wal-'iyadhu billah. Servants of Allah, from what actually also bring leniency to the hearts and prevents the hearts from being hardened. Protect your hearing and your sight from gazing at what is haram and listening to what is haram. This time in which you are living through, this matter became easily accessible. Gazing at the haram and seeing what's haram. Naked women that appear to be dressed but in reality naked. Or looking at the haram, either directly, may Allah protect us, or indirectly through devices. These pour over the hearts like arrows of Iblis. It might be the result for the heart to be completely turned off toward the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and become hardened the more the servant does it. As well as the ears drop into music and songs, wal-'iyadhu billah, and becoming easily listening to those. The hearts will not accept both. Either it will accept the words of the shaitan and the instruments of the shaitan, and you will find ease listening to them, which is false ease. Or the heart will reject it and listen only to the words of Allah and find peace and tranquility through listening and reciting the words of Allah. But no heart of a man could accept both. So see where your heart stands. Accepting the instruments of the shaitan and the words of the shaitan. Or is it accepting the words of Allah and only the words of Allah, the exalted? The supporting of all of that is a statement of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In a hadith authenticated by Al-Bukhari and Muslim, he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Allah the exalted has decreed for the son of Adam a share in fornication. He will get it by all means. Fornication of eyes is looking, and the fornication of tongue is speaking. The soul desires and has passion, and the private part confirms it or falsifies it. Servants of Allah, these are some of the reasons that bring leniency and softness to the hearts towards Allah the exalted. A major act that brings the servant closer to Allah is that when the heart is lenient, and you can test that. See how you stand when the words of Allah are recited onto you. When you hear the verses of Allah. When you yourself remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you hear Allah said, or the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said. Allah the exalted gives it as one of the major descriptions of the believers in the Quran. When Allah's verses are recited onto them, increases them in iman because their hearts are lenient, accepting the words of Allah, the statements of Allah, the statements of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As a matter of fact, one of the types of people that will be under the shade of Allah on a day that will be no shade but His shade, as a man who remembered Allah alone, and his eyes start overflowing with tears.